Hi everyone, Chris here. I am so excited to invite you all to join us for our second ever live show. We are going to be at FlameCon this year. Our panel is at 4 o'clock on Sunday afternoon. We are going to be doing You Can't Spell Robin Without Bi, a panel on deciding who is the most bisexual, the biased of bicons among our lovely Robins. To debate the matter, we have invited Ben Kahn, S.W. Sonheimer, and Josh Trujillo. So please come. We hope to see you there. We will also be guests at another panel that weekend. So if you have time, please come by at 1 o'clock for author A.K. Faulkner's panel, where TJ and I, along with past guests, S.W. Sonheimer, David R. Slayton, and Greg Lockhart, will be discussing where to find books and how to get access to media you wouldn't otherwise find. The previous day, on Saturday, Thirsty on Tune will be having our first ever live show at 7 o'clock on Saturday, where we will be discussing queering the script with guests David R. Slayton, Ben Kahn, and Steve Say. So I hope you will come for an amazing FlameCon weekend and come by one or maybe all of our live shows. Definitely stop by and say hi and maybe pick up some Outsider swag. We'd love to see you there. We had so much fun with Pride this year that we've decided to keep it going throughout the year. We recorded a whole ton of Pride events and spotlights, and we're just going to keep rolling them out throughout the year. So your Pride content is not over, it's going to keep coming. And hey everyone, we know that for a lot of fans, Twitter was the primary place where you got to find us, the Outsiders. And we're working on making new communities on other places. You can find both TJ and I on Blue Sky if you're over there, and trying to make our way on other places like Instagram, and I know TJ's on Threads. So please look for us at those other places. But in the meantime, we are working on reviving and bringing back to life our Gotham Outsiders Discord so that our little family can kind of stay together as Twitter goes away. So please join us over on Discord. You can search for Gotham Outsiders Discord or find it. If you're still on Twitter, it is part of our Twitter bio, and I will be retweeting it so that you can find it and it'll be there for you. But please come help join us and help us to revive it and bring it back to life during this time of social media transition. All right, now enjoy the episode. Hello and welcome to the Gotham Outsiders, our Batman Pride celebration this month. We are back for part 2 of our celebration of Pride 2023. I am your host, Bat Obsessive Chris, and with me as always is my co-host TJ.
Hello, everyone. I am your Chris proclaimed Batman Talon, and today we have so many amazing guests with us from the anthology. We have a variety of stories featured today through all of your contributions to them. So could we go around and introduce yourselves with your pronouns if you'd like, and say what story or stories you worked on and what your process in that, creating this story was. To start, why don't we start with Ariana?
Mm-hmm. Hi, I'm Ariana Maher. I letter comics for DC and Marvel and Dark Horse. Every year I get the chance to letter some of the stories in DC Pride, and I get to letter some to most of the stories in DC Marvel or in the Marvel Pride. And both are really fun events for me, my favorite times of the year. I do 2 stories, which is the dance and the dance and teamwork makes the dream work.
Yes, thank you. And Ariana is a veteran. This is your 3rd time here, so thank you for coming back. I guess this means you like us? Question mark? Yes. Hopefully.
I've went through the trenches of having a good time.
Oh, good. Next up, Rye, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Rye Hickman, they, them. And for the DC Pride Anthology this year, I did the art for A Bad Dream, A Dreamer Story, which is an excerpt from the upcoming graphic novel.
Yes. And we're so excited. Thank you for coming. Tom, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Tom Peyer, he, him. And I didn't do any comics in this, but I wrote a little piece in tribute to my friend Rachel Pollack, who passed away.
Yeah, a beautiful piece. We're gonna dive into that. Thank you so much for coming, Tom.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Bruka, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Bruka Jones. I worked on Hey Stranger with Nadia Shamas and Tamara Bonvillian and Frank, whose last name I have trouble pronouncing. This is my first DC Pride. I mostly work in indie stuff, creator-owned stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming. And I just want to make sure, is it Bruka or Bruka?
Bruka.
Bruka. Thank you.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure I was saying it correctly. Bruka.
Yes, and my
and
pronouns
then-
are he, him also.
Perfect.
Sorry, I forgot to say.
Very good. Thank you. And then last but not least, Josh, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Josh Trujillo. I'm a writer, he, him. I worked on Apollo and Midnighter's anniversary story with artist Don Aguio and letterer Lucas Catoni.
Perfect. And Josh, we talked to you not so long ago. Thank you for coming back to talk to us now.
Oh, of course, anytime.
Yes, congrats on all your Blue Beetle success.
Yes.
Well, we are going to start off with one of my personal favorites in the anthology and one close to Chris's and mine hearts. Of course, our boy, Tim Drake. We are big Tim Drake fans over here. So, Bruka, what was it like getting to contribute to Tim's ongoing journey of identity, and not just his, but also Connor Hawke's?
Very nerve-wracking. It's a lot to try to make sure that I was respectful to. There's a big history there. It was really fun. I like to try to sneak as many Easter eggs as I could into the art. I did, if you look, there's the Robin hang glider is hanging out on the first panel.
Yes.
On top of the like party boat is also in the bat boat at the end. I don't know. It's a lot. It's kind of hard to put into words for me. How great it was to be able to have been able to work on something with those two characters. I wasn't super familiar with Connor Hawke when I first was approached to do the book, so a lot of like piling in to try to go, who is this person and what are they like and how do they act and like what are their mannerisms.
Right.
And I very quickly fell in love with that character, Connor.
Oh my goodness,
He's
the
great.
story in last year's anthology was so good. Like,
Yes.
I also wasn't super familiar with Connor before then, but that made me fall in love with him so hard.
Yeah, he's very cute.
Oh,
He
so
is.
cute, so cute.
Yes.
And I mean, you did a great job drawing
Yeah.
both of them and making them even cuter,
you.
possibly.
Yes.
Thank you.
Agreed.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, no, your style is amazing. And the story itself is very like slice of life, which is something I think Chris and I would compare to like the Batman Wayne Family Adventures webtoon. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but like it seems very similar to us in terms of like tone and picking up with the story right after the big fight. Like, how does working on a story like this one that's a little more quiet, how does that differ from working on something that's more like action oriented?
This is actually the kind of thing that I do the most is like slice of life stuff. I don't do a ton of action stuff, though I would love to in the future.
Ooh.
The most action oriented thing I did a long time ago was like a webcomic. But
Which one?
I used to work on Aegis Omega.
Ooh.
Nice.
It was a shapeshifter crime supernatural thing, which took
Ooh.
place in Brazil.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah. But yeah, it was that one's a little bit more of a drama, but this was sort of right up my alley as far as like the tone, like just sort of chill and trying to be a little bit more emotional and sort of just everyday kind of quiet situation versus the more like whiz bang pow that you would normally expect from superhero comics.
Right. No, I think you were the perfect fit for this story. It was just beautiful. Honestly, just thank you so much for your work on this story, because I think I said in our last recording about the issue, like I would love to see an ongoing with this art and these characters. Like you would be
Thank you so
perfect for
much.
it. Of
Yeah.
course. Thank you.
Yeah, 100%. Like this, TJ said, this character's special to us, so this story meant a lot to us.
Oh, that makes me really happy to hear.
And
Yeah.
just the asexual rep in the
Yeah.
story, I think for you, Chris, is big.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
As somebody who's Ace, seeing a Ace character in DC Comics it means a lot to me, and you did him right.
I'm glad to hear that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm happy that I could contribute to something like this.
Yeah. And Rye, for you, this was only a snippet of your Dreamer graphic novel that's coming up, but it got us so excited. What has it been like exploring with Nicole Maines, who played Dreamer in the Arrowverse?
It's been truly a delight to get to work with Nicole. She is, I mean, obviously her voice for the character is very authentic, but
Yes.
on top of that, she has done an exceptional job of capturing what it's like to be awkward and uncertain and, you know, very stubborn 15-year-old girl.
Yeah.
And just like really hitting that teenage voice. It's a delight. There's definitely pages that I just laugh out loud because it's so like, this is exactly how a teenager is. Amazing. So it's been really fun.
Oh, we cannot wait. We're so excited.
Yeah,
So
yeah. It's going to
excited.
come out April 2024. So sooner than it seems like.
Yeah, it'll come no time. What was it like adapting Nyanel's life, not just to comics, but to explore her young adulthood specifically?
I mean, that's a tricky question, right? Because I didn't write it.
Yeah.
But I would say that it's been really, really fun to figure out a young Nyanel's like body language.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like when you're, you know, around 15, maybe a little younger, you're really trying to figure out who you are in the world.
Yeah.
And the physicality of that is something that I can contribute a lot to. So there's a lot of moments where she's very hunched in and sulking
Yeah.
and, you know, not really sure of herself yet. And that's been visually a lot of fun.
Yeah. While we were reviewing the issue, we talked a lot about the art style and how it seems like a pun when you say that dreamlike it is, but genuinely like that preview that's in the Pride anthology, it was so eerie and colorful.
Yeah.
And I loved it. We were
Yeah,
so into it.
we were originally going to feature the pages that were already featured to the public
Yeah.
when the announcement got released through IGN.
Mhm.
But Nicole said, no, like everyone's already seen those pages before. Like let's give them something new. And so she chose that sequence, and I think that was a really unusual choice because it is quite a trip. And hopefully it whets the appetite for the book.
It certainly did for us. I know.
Oh yes. Yeah, I thought it was a great snippet to like showcase your art because there was barely any dialogue, so like your art was really, you know, on display there, and it was just so captivating.
I have to shout out the colorist Beck
Yes.
Spendening. I hope I'm saying their last name correctly because their work is also just absolutely highlighted, and I love it.
Absolutely, yeah.
Chris mentioned like, oh sorry, go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I really liked that it kind of had like a horror element to it almost in those pages. Was that what you were gonna say too?
That was exact. I was gonna be like, Chris said eerie. Go back to that. Yeah, I wanted to ask about like how much of a horror vibe is there in the book overall. Like it makes me think of like, oh, I hope they explore like horror and like the intersectionality of like being trans and like feeling about your body. Like is that something the book is trying to do, or am I reading too much into it?
Not in a horror, like a body horror sense in any way. But I did bring in a lot of like nightmare elements to Nia's visions because they're chaotic and messy, and she's untrained, and she's not willing to admit that she has these powers to anybody. So bringing a lot of like horror imagery and a lot of darkness to those pages makes sense for it. But the book as a whole, I think it's more like there's a lot of tension, but there's also a lot of amazing queer joy. There's a really, really lovely sequence that I think I finished out like a couple of weeks ago that involves ballroom, which was just so much fun to try and get to bring to life.
Oh, that's so
kind of a tricky thing because that's such a a movement-oriented thing to bring to a comic. So that was a fun thing to wrap my head around to try and put it on the page. But yeah, there's definitely like some queer joy in this book, as well as the stress of having superpowers and not wanting them.
That's
yeah,
awesome.
you gotta have a balance.
You gotta, yeah.
Well, we are hitting the pre-order button. Thank you. Next up, we're gonna go to Tom. Tom, you wrote a really heartfelt essay for this anthology in celebration of Rachel Pollack's life and work. For our listeners, could you just tell us how you knew Rachel and how you decided what to focus on about her in your essay?
Well, I was Rachel's first editor in comics. I was the editor of Doom Patrol. Luckily, it was my favorite comic book in the world, and I got to be the editor.
That's so cool.
Yeah, really. And Grant Morrison was leaving the book. And how do you replace Grant Morrison? So that was it was something that was just weighing on me for weeks. Like, what? This can't be a normal comic book again. I can't let it happen, but who? And Stuart Moore, my friend and co-editor, took me to a science fiction writers workshop cocktail party. No, Science Fiction Writers of America cocktail party, and introduced me there to Rachel. And within 10 minutes of talking to her, I knew that she was going to be the next Doom Patrol writer. She had such a brilliant mind, and she was so funny, and she loved Doom Patrol as much as I did. It was all she wanted to talk about. So it was problem solved. And we got along so well. And she had this beautiful idea that we did. Her first job in comics really was to prank our readers. She wrote a series of letters that I printed, where she sort of took on the persona of a person who's not very bright, but really wants to write Doom Patrol. And that from month to month, the pleas got more just intense and emotional. And the last one she wrote, she said that I really needed to hire her for Doom Patrol because she'd already told her mother she got the job. So in my answer on the letter page, I said, okay, you got the job. And there were people who believed this, and they were not happy. It was like the American nightmare of someone getting something they don't deserve, you know.
Right.
So we loved that. We loved doing that. And I've run into people 20 years later, 30 years later, who thought that was real.
That's so sweet.
Oh my goodness.
So we wrote together. We did a series of Jack Kirby's New Gods that we wrote together. And I have, in recent years, I'm happy to say, I'm the editor at a comic book company, an indie company called Ahoy Comics. And we did a couple of anthologies, and I was able to get her to come back and write for us too. And that was really terrific. She's so good. She was so good. I hate to say was.
Right.
Yeah.
But you were asking about a particular anecdote that I touched on. And it was, to me, it was Rachel all over, because I had decided to quit being an editor so I could go write. I needed to get happy. And so I called around to all my writers and artists and letters and colorists and told them that I was leaving. And naturally and understandably, they were all like, how is this going to affect me? And I'm happy to say I don't think anyone lost their job over it. But Rachel was one of the last ones I called, and I told her I was leaving, and there was a silence, and then she said, "Quitting is good for the soul." And I was blown away, because she was the person whose first thought was about me and how I might be feeling, and she was totally like that. She was so special. She was so wise and funny and kind.
Yeah.
That she could be like a regeneration of Doctor Who, and I would believe it.
Aww.
Literally, you're gonna make me cry.
I know.
And then I've been very open about, like, I'm a very new DC Comics reader, so I haven't actually read any of her work yet, and I kept meaning to, and now I'm like, I feel like I need to even more than ever now.
Yeah.
But like, there's such a weight to it, you know, right now, even not being familiar with her work, just seeing how loved and adored she was, and in your tone right now, like, I can just tell how much you cared for her. And I thought you did a fantastic job in your essay showing that. And I was reading, I was like, why did he pick this moment? And then I thought about it, and I'm like, because it really showed who she was as a person. And it was just very beautiful. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Thanks for that. Her writing is wonderful, and you will really enjoy it.
I'm so excited. Like, part of the problem was I didn't know, because as you said, like, Grant Morrison did the run right before hers. So I was like, which one do I start with? Like, they're kind of big beasts to jump into. And now I'm like, you know what? I just need to do both all together.
Do both. It's wonderful. I gotta say, the 60s Doom Patrols are masterpieces too.
Oh yeah,
Drake and Bruno Premiani. But I don't want to load you down too much.
Just start at issue 1, go forward to current.
Well, like, the show's ending, so I'm like, well, I'm gonna need a Doom Patrol fix after that ends. So
she was so, she was overshadowed by Grant, because she was like the person right after, and she felt overshadowed by Grant, and I thought she was too. But when they published the Rachel Pollack Doom Patrol Omnibus last year. And she was so kind. She let them use one of my stories that I wrote with Cliff Steele in it to fill out the book. But the main thing is, she was so, after years of kind of feeling overlooked, it meant so much to her that this book came out and people responded to it so well. And if she'd seen this tribute in the DC Pride comic, it would have blown her mind, just to have it confirmed that she was so important.
Yeah. I mean, we started this podcast almost 3 years ago, and once in a while we'll be like, what should we cover, especially for Pride Month? We're looking for comics that have queer rep in them, and just the amount of love that her Doom Patrol run has, even before her passing, like, it was huge. So, I really hope she knew how loved it was, because it was, and is.
Yeah, she did get the message.
Oh, good.
Well, again, thank you so much for sharing your memories with us about her.
Thank you.
Of course. Well, how to follow that with Ariana? Are you up for the task?
No, but I'll do it anyways.
Okay,
Our DC
good.
Pride veteran, though, so you gotta
You're
soldier on.
So, Ariana, what has it been like to see these anthologies grow and change over the last 3 years, and to have been a part of that entire ride?
It's been an interesting ride so far. The first year, it was almost overwhelming how excited I was for everything, because it was the start of I was just finishing up my first full year as a freelancer for lettering, and they were starting up this anthology, and I got invited to the DC anthology as well. So I was doing both Marvel and DC. I was so excited to be a part of them. A little devastated afterwards, because there was a fair amount of blowback as well of that being like, this is not enough. And so I learned to, moderate how much Twitter I actually use. So
Right.
So I came into the next year with a far more measured outlook on things, of being like, it's like, yes, I'm excited for it, but I also this is work. So let me measure this out, and not read people's comments and hot takes on things and just enjoy it for what it is. And it became extra special for me to work on the DC Pride book. I mean, the Marvel Pride book was really nice, but I only got to letter half of it because I was sick. I got really sick at one point during the week, and Clayton had to step in and letter the second half of the book for me. But for last year's Pride, it was super special for me, because it wasn't just me doing some of the stories, and it was also Aditya and Frank and Lucas. And for Frank and Lucas, this was their first like DC gigs. I've been rooting for these guys forever, and I consider them like in the, you know, disorganized way that we letterers try to figure out how to work in the business and how to learn our craft. There wasn't a really organized format of doing it. We all kind of came from the same school of it, kind of. So they were kind of like my classmates, my friends, and to see them get these gigs, I was over the moon that we got to be in that anthology all together. So that was extra special. And then this year I did 2 stories, and they were so different, but also both so sweet that it was really fun to get to do them. And it was one of those things at this point in doing these anthologies, how I feel about them at this point, it's like oxygen. I cannot comfortably go through this next year unless they get to let me letter at least 1 story each.
Aw.
I think you've earned it.
Yeah.
I hope so. I hope they keep asking me to do these because they're always so special to me to get to do these kind of stories. I mean, you have to letter so many stories in this business that there's a fair amount of it that you might not get super excited about or like feel the proudest about, but these ones, they live up to the name Pride. I'm very proud of all the work I get to do on them.
Yeah.
I know we're always excited to see your name pop up in them as we're flipping through.
Right. And I read tons of comics and I see your name all over. And every time I'm like, oh, there she is. There she is again.
Yes.
So I guess I wanted to ask something a little silly. What's it like having worked on the horniest DC Pride story yet in the dance?
I feel like we should make hornier comics.
Please.
I mean,
who do we have to apply to for that?
Like when I got to letter this and I got to the last page, I felt like a school marm being like, oh my. And then thinking it's like, this is tame comparison to the stuff that like Batman and Catwoman will get into.
Yes.
That's a good point.
I loved how cute it was. It was just like these 2 badass characters being flirty with each other and then having like a nice night together. And it's like, it's just nice. This is fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we could always just do more. You know,
we can always be hornier.
Yeah.
It's what we deserve.
Horny comic summer is what we're having right now.
The brave and the horny.
Yes. The brave and the horny.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's so beautiful. And Josh, for you wrote Midnighter and Apollo this year, which I absolutely love. There's 2 of my favorite characters, and your writing is always some of my favorite writing. So it was a dream mix for me. Loved it so much.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, absolutely. It was so good. And the way that you mixed the celebration and pride elements with the harder elements of genuine pain and anger really hit me right now and very hard, because it felt very in this moment. Could you tell me a little bit about that process of coming up with it, figuring out how to balance that?
Yeah, so my editor, Michael, he wanted me for the Pride book, which was like a huge honor. You know, I read it every year, and it's always been a dream of mine to be included in that. And he's like, do you want to write Midnighter and Apollo? And I was like, if Midnighter and Apollo were around today, they would be busting heads. You know, they're inherently very active, sometimes violent characters. And so trying to figure out how the situation we're in makes them feel a little helpless and powerless was really interesting to try to find that midpoint. But it, you know, I took it very seriously. I wrote probably like 7 or 8 drafts of the thing, I want to say, because there's a tonal thing, you know what I mean? You want to make sure that it is still an appealing story, it doesn't get too weighed down in the heaviness of it. And you also want to have a little bit of fun and see them be heroes, right? So that was really interesting. And then pairing them with a character like Alan Scott, who's such a kind of such a white knight, such a do-gooder, you really see like a classic superhero versus Apollo and Midnighter that are kind of like Gen X, very tough, very rugged. And so I love the dichotomy there.
Yeah. Yeah, I know it certainly spoke to me because, you know, I love all the celebration and the queer joy and all of that is so beautiful. And it's hard to ignore how painful this year has been as well. So having both those elements united there it was really well done.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're in an especially tough time now, and I thought we shouldn't necessarily shy away from that. And sometimes these things can read a little off, but I still thought it was worth trying to try to tell a story that has some meaning today.
Absolutely. You succeeded in my book.
If you listen to our discussion about it, I came into this story with a lot of baggage because I was like, you know what, it was just too real for me right now. Like, no, in a good way. Like, we need stories like that. But you did a great job making it feel very grounded and real, set in this fictional world.
Yeah, and I owe so much to my artist Don Aguillo, who really his painterly style like really just added a lot of beauty and warmth in a way that I wasn't expecting to find in the script. And then Lucas Gattoni, he works with me on Blue Beetle. He's my lettering babe. Not that Ariana isn't also my lettering babe. We've worked together a few times. Also a babe.
Lucas is the best though. Let's just both fanboy him right now. He's amazing.
Yeah, he's amazing. And like, he never shies away from making a logo. When I put a logo there, I'm like, can we give all the drag queens their own unique logo? And
so
he's like, I'm already halfway there. And I was like, perfect.
I loved that.
I heard he got married inspired by this story. Is that true?
Yeah, Lucas proposed to his longtime partner. I think they were together for like over 10 years. And in reading and lettering the story, he's like, wait, I'm not married. So
that's so cute.
So yeah, we got a little real love out of this story.
Yeah. So when we reviewed the book, we reviewed it with Greg Luckhart, who told us about you two texting each other about writing Midnighter and Apollo at the same time and how, it was kind of a conversation, which we love because it's just exciting to see more and more queer people writing my two favorite queer characters in DC. So.
Oh, they have a lot of fans in DC. I mean, I'm sure it's going to be a bright future for those characters.
Good. I hope they bust a lot of heads. That's really what
Me too.
That's all I want. Can you tell us a little bit about why Alan Scott felt like the right choice for this story as kind of like the elder queer in the narrative?
Yeah, originally I just had kind of a nondescript queer elder, and my editor Michael was like, you have Alan Scott right there. And I was like, oh yeah. And so Alan Scott's interesting because he came out so much later in life and in his publication history. And so I kind of have the little wrinkle there that Alan Scott was inspired by Apollo and Midnighter's marriage to kind of come out and be an out proud hero as well. And so I love that, like, even though Alan Scott is like probably 100 years old at this point, he can still find inspiration from the younger generation.
Yeah,
he's looking good for 100.
He's got that beard now. He's looking great.
I know. Well, it was just honestly perfect. I can't say enough. Like, that story makes me very emotional. So.
Oh, thank you very much.
Absolutely. Did you have any favorite moments from writing it that you'd like to share, or anything you're particularly proud of or personally a fan of from it?
Oh gosh, I like all the heartfelt stuff, but I'm going to go for the drag queens.
Yes.
Coming up with the drag queen names that were based off of DC superheroes was so fun. Not to spoil them all, but we've got Queen Lantern, we've got Slayface, we've got Brainiac 69.
That's my favorite.
Fantastic.
Crime Alley, and just the whole rest. And so that's been a lot of fun. I was just at QCon this past weekend, which is an LA-based queer comic book convention. Yeah. And people were coming up to me being like, when are we going to see the drag queens again? We want to see more Queen Lantern. And I was like, oh, well, actually, I have a pitch in my pocket. So
there you go.
Never say never.
Good tease.
Oh, yeah. I love that. Yes.
And we wanted to take that question and kind of open it up to everyone. Do any of you have a favorite moment from your stories that you would like to share? Like one that you're particularly proud of or one that you're just personally a fan of?
I guess for me, lettering Mildred's story, Teamwork Makes the Dream Work, it was probably one of the most challenging and exciting experiences, even though it's a short story. For me, it meant a lot because I know Mildred, I've met them in the past, I've tabled for them at their conventions and stuff a few times, and we knew each other pre-pandemic era, and so we've lost touch for a while. So getting to see their work again, I was super excited because they've always done indie style, right? Mm-hmm. And it was also super, super challenging because when I have the dance, it's simple, clean, it's caption boxes and then a little bit of dialogue. It's just like such a smooth process. I got it done within hours, easy money, basically. But Teamwork Makes the Dream Work was super challenging because I wasn't being asked to emulate after another letterer. I was being asked to emulate after the artist and writer who's the same person and who has been working as the artist, writer, letterer, colorist for their own works for years and years and years, and have a really specific style to how they want things to look. And it's not about choosing the right font or having the balloons look a certain way. It's all about flow and getting the right kind of like sound effects and images and things to come up top and how to make those flow in this creator's particular style. And I was really nervous about it.
Yeah, no pressure, right?
Yeah, and I admit I mucked it up quite a few times, but we had a really, like, editors are so freaking important to comics. I never work on any books anymore without an editor because, trust me, you do not want to try. It's very frustrating. But our editor included Andrea Shea, who I've worked with on Crush and Lobo and a whole bunch of other stuff. And she's amazing at getting everyone's feedback and processing it and then finding compromises and seeing what works and what doesn't work, and really makes what could be an argument into a discussion, you know? Not that I was arguing with anyone. It's just like where things could be butting heads and styles not mixing, she found that mix and it balanced out. And it was like, so what we got was really, really good, but no one knows how worried I was that it wasn't going to turn out well because I was messing it up.
Oh, well, it turned out great. And yeah, Andrea does amazing work. She's such an advocate on Twitter for these issues and all of the queer content over at DC.
Biggest fangirl of her. Yeah.
Yeah. Bruka, do you have a favorite moment from your story? Maybe one that you just personally like or one that you're really proud of?
Well, there are several.
Tell us all, please.
I think the overarching thing that I enjoyed the most is just how many emotions I got to try to portray with the character expressions and the body language.
Yes.
I think my favorite panel specifically is the one just after Connor has snapped back at Tim and he's like, ugh. Like, it's not you. Just like that was actually the first panel I drew for the whole thing because it was
Aww.
I was looking forward to it the most after
you had a
reading the
vision.
script. I did. I had a vision. I had a dream.
We saw the vision.
Yeah. And then just like the I guess the emotions are my favorite thing about it, but my second favorite thing, close second, is the interactions at the very end of the last 2 pages where they're sitting on the boat and they're just kind of talking and exchanging. And all this is big credit to Nadia and what she did with all the story and the dialogue. I just kind of got to map out what I believe was in her mind.
You expanded on it.
Exactly. Yeah, I hope so.
You did. You added so much.
Yeah, and yeah, that's my my big thing is the getting to be able to try to figure out what she was trying to get them to do and what the emotions were trying to be conveyed. And I think I enjoyed that the most. My sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was about to say something very stupid, so please
I like stupid stuff. You can say
Oh,
stupid stuff.
okay, fine. Was your third favorite thing drawing Tim's hair? Because you did such an amazing job. It's so luscious and beautiful.
Yes. I really enjoyed drawing Tim's hair.
It's his signature, right? Nightwing's got the butt, you know,
Yeah.
Jason's got his thighs, and Tim's got his hair.
Yeah, his hair is very pretty and shiny.
So shiny.
Yeah. I like drawing Damien's hair as well.
Yeah, Damien's hair is very cute.
Spiky.
I love it.
Oh, I love
Yeah.
the Damien parts. They're so funny.
Yes.
That's actually my favorite page is when Damien shows up.
So good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We keep joking that Damien keeps showing up in the Pride anthologies, and we're like,
I'm just saying there's been 3 Pride anthologies and he's been in all of them. So
What does it mean?
What could it mean? I'm connecting it. I'm connecting it.
Oh, maybe. I think aside from the art, I really enjoyed the collaboration between everybody. Andrea, like, you all just said, is absolutely amazing. Anytime I joked with my boyfriend several times when I was doing it. If I felt stressed out or anxiety about anything, I could just send an email to Andrea and she would make it go away.
Aww.
Yeah,
always finds answers.
Sorry?
He always finds answers somehow.
I don't know. She's got
He's a
some kind of
superhero.
magic. Yeah, literally.
Oh, well, thank you for sharing those favorite moments with us.
Of course.
Rye, I know it was just a sampling of your book, but is there a particular moment in the sample that you really love? Or if you want to tease something to come that is a favorite?
This is a little bit of both. So on the second to last page, there's this poster in Nia and Maeve's bedroom that features the Seers as action superheroes of that universe, basically. And Nicole had just written that, like, have the title be in Meltorian. And I was like, oh, I get to invent an alphabet, I think. I had a passing interest in linguistics at one point. So I got really excited about how to structure the alphabet and how to make it its own thing. And it's a real alphabet. Like, I might make a font out of it at some point. But what I decided to do was have all of the consonants be the bigger shape, and then have the vowels be much smaller and sort of added on. And then I also did my best effort at having the shapes of each letter form sort of relate to the way they exit the mouth, So if it's like a more fricative sound, then it would be one type of shape. And if it's more like sibilant, then it's a different type of shape. I nerded out so hard on that.
That's so fun.
So there's going to be, a couple of moments in the Gothic novel where Meltorian alphabet is used. It's not a plot point. It's not important, but it brought me a lot of joy to get to invent something out of whole cloth.
Oh, that's so fun.
Aww.
So are you saying we could, like, decode it? Is that
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a real alphabet. It functions. It does get into that weird area where, like, technically I'm just writing in English in another, like, alphabet, So, like, that doesn't feel accurate to me, but I'm not going to invent a whole language as well.
I mean, come on, you can do it.
You're halfway there.
I know, right?
Just
No,
pull a
that's so cool.
Tolkien, have a whole language,
Yeah. No, every time I see it reading the book, I will just know how much fun you had.
Yeah, I'm
with
just
that.
thinking of all those, like, middle grade books that I read where they had like in Artemis Fowl, they had fairy language that you could decode on the bottom. That's how I'm gonna be reading this book when it comes out. I'm gonna be like, okay, I'm gonna figure it out.
I mean, there's no secret message, though. It's just the thing you would expect it to say.
It doesn't matter, okay? you think I'm not gonna do it anyway?
It's about the journey.
Just at some point put, like, hi Chris in there. That's all I ask.
Well, now you'll have to read it and find out.
Now I'm gonna have to decode everything just to find out you didn't do that. No.
No pressure.
Yeah, just
Well, Tom, I know you don't have a panel story in this book, but I wanted to give you the opportunity to elaborate on anything or that that we talked about earlier that maybe you thought of something you'd like to share extra?
Well, I have a copy right here, and as you're all talking about your stories, I'm sitting here thumbing through it and looking at them because I've just been a dope about sitting down and reading this thing. But it's a beautiful book, and the work of the artists who are present now is gorgeous.
What is it like getting to be a part of such a monumental issue? What does it mean to you as a creator or also as a fan?
Okay, I'll jump in if that's cool.
Go for it, Rye.
So I think like a lot of queer people have a very oppositional take on authority and the mainstream, and things that are for everybody, because oftentimes they're not for me. So when I first learned that both of the big two were doing Pride anthologies, I did roll my eyes, and it did seem like a cheap thing. But then actually reading them and getting to participate, it is just so obvious how much everyone who participated in these anthologies loves doing this. Like, it's no matter what type of story we're telling in there, it's just so clear that people are bringing their best work, that people care so deeply, and it's just page after page of queer love. And so I had to take back my initial reticence to be into the idea. I think it's amazing.
Yeah, very genuine.
Yeah, we feel that too, because I think as queer people, we all know when we're being pandered to, right? And this does not feel like that at all.
Maybe the Nightwing covers a little bit. But I'm not complaining about it.
I'll take that pandering. I'll take that pandering. I'll take it.
Right.
Yeah, for me, last year I went to visit my mom in Brazil. I don't know if I told you guys about that, but I took my Pride issues with me, as well as several other queer books that I had helped lettered or make over the past few years, because I hadn't seen her in many years by that point. She living overseas, and with the pandemic and everything, finally getting to see her was a big deal. And handing her a stack of comics meant a lot to both of us, because like I was raised in a queer household. My mom was openly bi, and we had to live under Don't Ask, Don't Tell. And a lot of us, the media that we wanted to enjoy, the kind of media my mom wanted to show me so that I could understand myself and my brother, for him to understand himself better, for our family, we didn't have those. And now this material is more readily available, and I could show it to my mom, because like whenever I would show my mom comics, she'd be like, well, that's not queer enough for me. And now it's like, hey, look, I made some for you. Is that enough? So it's something that's special to me every year. It's something that I hope every year they'll welcome me onto, and I hope it just continues. And what I really hope is that it means that more and more queer creators are, getting paid and making stories.
Yeah, give us the money. Bruka, what does being in this issue mean to you as a fan or a creator?
Quite a few things. I think the standout is that this is the first time I've been on a book that is on a shelf that you can go to a store and see. So it sort of doesn't feel real yet.
Yeah.
But I got to text my grandmother and be like, hey, I'm finally like on a shelf. You can go to a bookstore and you can see me on the bookshelf, and you can open it up and my art's in there. That means a lot to me personally, because it's been a long road to get to this sort of level where I could be lucky enough to contribute to something like this, and alongside so many other really great creators. And that it's a queer specific thing is also very important to me, because that's the thing I like to draw the most, is things that are more representative of the community that I'm a part of. If there's not some sort of representation in there, I always try to like get it in, like just try to like squeeze it in there.
Thank you.
Yeah, and that I think that's the most important thing to me, is that I got to do something that can be, what am I trying to say here? It's kind of hard because I'm mostly like an emotional person than a words person, which is why I'm an artist and not a writer.
We do accept sounds like it's okay.
There you go.
That's valid. That's like the sound I would make.
Well, I just want to say, you said luck, and I know luck is always part of it, but I'm blown away that this is your first big thing. You are amazing. Your style is so good. So like I think I said it earlier, but you earned this. Like, you are so talented. And I barely know you, and I'm so proud of you after just hearing you speak.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, 100%.
And there's so many more coming. You're going to be in so many things.
Oh, I hope so.
Yeah.
Be so
you're too good not to be.
Let me draw all of your queer characters doing queer things.
Please. I'm telling you,
ongoing. Draw the gays.
Kendrick Robin, Volume 2.
Yeah, I know.
Give it to me.
Yes,
right?
Please.
I want it. We want it.
Just draw his hair. Just keep drawing his hair.
Please.
I'll draw it in the wind.
Yes. Oh God, don't do that to me.
I'll send you some other ideas you could do with his hair. Hey, okay. We're gonna move on that note. Tom, no pressure, but would you like to share what it means to you to be in this anthology?
Oh, it's a beautiful book, and it seems to be opening up social contacts to me, which is wonderful. You're all nice people.
So the Queer DC Comics family seems to be growing every year. What character do you predict or hope will come out next?
Damien?
Damien, yes.
Oh, Damien?
Say more. That's what we all want.
I always default to Connor Kent because I have a Tim, Drake, and Connor agenda. This is not news to anyone.
Oh, I'm right there with you. Tim and Connor forever.
Oh, yes, Josh.
That's not official. That's not an official answer, but that's what's in my heart.
We can manifest. We're lighting candles in a circle. We got this.
I feel like the odds are against us, but I'm like, we've talked to so many people writing for DC Comics that ship it, that I'm like, how can it not happen one day?
Yeah.
One day.
For me, it's like, at this point, especially with the Bat books, like a character would have to come out as straight for me to believe them to be straight. Otherwise, it's just not my default when I read the Bat books.
I feel like they could say they were straight and I'd be like, wow, you protest too much.
The rest of the Bat family's like, that's new.
Yeah, are you? Your boyfriend doesn't think so.
But yeah, I mean, I would just like a lot more stories with the characters doing this like they do in the Pride books, like exploring themselves and their conversations with each other and getting these kind of more slice of life moments of getting to see characters interact is what I really like about these anthology stories. So I'm totally down with like any of the characters just naturally having their life, not having a big count coming out or anything. It's like they're just doing their thing. Mm-hmm. Straights have to come out though.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Until it's proven otherwise.
I like that.
Our final call for any character you would want to come out. Maybe you have a hope or a suspicion.
You've already said the ones I like.
All the good ones. I know we took them.
Yeah, beyond Tim and Connor, I keep waiting for Ma Hunkel to come out as a lesbian icon that we all know she is.
She is. She is.
Well, we also wanted to ask everyone if you're watching any queer media or reading any queer media that you would like to share or recommend with our listeners.
Mostly just a lot of audiobooks off of out of my library. Just this whole year, I've gotten really into reading books again when I stopped and I decided I'm just going to read non-straight books this year.
Yes.
If I can manage it. Yes. Just anything that has like, just feels a little bit something different and new, I'll give that a shot. And I've read some really good books as a result, so I'm happy.
Do you have like one or two favorites that you could throw for us?
I liked a lot of sci-fi lately. Ocean's Echo, Winter's Orbit, Along Way to a Small Angry Planet were really great. I
Library of
would,
a
I
Small Angry
love that
Planet
book.
is my
So
favorite
good.
book of all time.
yeah, I
Those are
kind of
good.
consider Murderbot Diaries as
Yes,
queer in
they're
that sense.
queer. They're
It's
queer.
definitely got that feel for me. And I just finished The Adventures of Amina al-Sarafi, which had a lot of queer characters in it, and it was just probably the best book I read this year. So highly
Oh my
recommend.
God. We need to talk queer sci-fi at some point because you have the same
Have me
taste
on
as I
that.
do.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm gonna be in your DMs.
Yes. Yes. I have recommendations. I just love queer sci-fi.
Oh, same.
Rye, what about you? What are you reading or watching or listening to?
I just finished reading, well, like last month, Mimosa. It's a graphic novel by Archie Bongiovanni. And it is about being a messy queer trying to date and party in your mid to late 30s. And it's upsettingly relatable. It's just really good and like brutally honest. It's fantastic. And their cartooning style is just, it's really, really joyful to watch. So would recommend.
I'm adding it currently.
Any other recommendations anyone would like to throw out?
Sure. So my buddy Matt Baum recently published a book called Hi Honey, I'm Homo. And it's a nonfiction book. It kind of traces American television kind of through a queer lens. So like in the 70s, there were a lot of like gay characters and coming out stories that were kind of reflecting the emerging gay rights movement and kind of how television addressed like AIDS or gay marriage or any of this stuff. And so it talks about sitcom episodes, but it also puts them in this context that I think is really interesting. Like a lot of us know about like the history of kind of comics and how it relates to the queer experience, the queer history, but no one's really done that for TV yet. And so I love this book. I'm so excited to crack it open.
I pre-ordered that book, so I'm excited to hear that it's good.
That sounds amazing. Bruka or Tom, any recommendations? No pressure.
I'd like to recommend a podcast.
Please.
Michael Hobbs is a gay journalist who's incredibly smart and funny, and he does a podcast with a straight lawyer who's also pretty funny.
Oh, I know this podcast. It's so good.
If Books Could Kill.
Yes.
And it is the greatest. It is the greatest thing. What they do is they take like a nonfiction airport book that sold a zillion copies and had some influence, and one of them will read it and explain to the other why it's stupid and terrible.
Yes.
And
it's the best.
I just can't get enough of it.
Seconded. Have you listened to Michael Hobbs' other podcast, Maintenance Phase? Because
I listened to it too. I just got way into him from this. He's so funny and so smart.
Those are so good. But also, like, if you ever want to read a book again that's nonfiction, you might have trouble, but it's fine.
And Bruka, anything you'd like to recommend?
Yeah, there's one show that I have watched more than once, numerous times. It's called The OA. It got prematurely canceled, so it does end in kind of a way. I don't really want to spoil it because if you spoil anything or talk about anything that happens in the plot, it just won't sound like it's real. It's very, you kind of have to see it. But there's Ian Alexander's in it. I don't know the name. Brett Marling is the person who ran the show, plays the main character. It's a very sort of weird, I can't really say anything without like ruining it just a little bit. It's very weird, but it's also very queer.
Ooh.
And it has some really great performances, and it does cut off in a very inconvenient place. But it's so good that you can't not watch what is there. You can see that on Netflix, I believe.
I was gonna say, is it Netflix? This sounds like Netflix.
Yeah.
You mean canceling a queer show early? Yeah, it sounds like Netflix.
Yeah. But
Definitely.
Weird and queer. I mean, this is the crowd, so I think you got us.
It's very good. Then also, I don't know if this counts as queer, but I've been rewatching Battlestar Galactica. I guess that kind of counts.
Anything counts as queer if you interpret it hard enough.
If you try hard enough.
Yeah. I'm just like Starbuck is my hero. So mostly Katie Sackhoff, but yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fair.
Well, we have one more silly question and then we'll wrap one up.
Yes. So if you could take one character out of the Pride anthology from any story except for your own, so no cheating, going the easy way, who would you take with you to Pride and why?
Tim Drake. He would know all the best places to find food. He would have researched them ahead of time. And he'd know the schedule of all the events happening that day. Always take Tim Drake.
He would have like 30 coffee drinks on him somehow, too. Just pulling out like 5-hour energies from somewhere.
Exactly.
I would say Circuit Breaker simply because I need to see so much more of Circuit Breaker.
Yes, us too.
Yeah, I feel ya.
Also Circuit Breaker.
Yeah, we love them.
Mhm.
Brainiac 69, of course.
How could you not hang out with Brainiac 69?
Should have known.
I was going to choose Circuit Breaker, but now I'm going to have to come up with a better answer.
Got it. Else?
They can just be really popular.
I know.
Yeah.
I want to go with Aquaman. I want to go with Jackson. I think that would be fun. I have a crush on his boyfriend too, so that doesn't hurt.
They're very cute.
Aw. Such good answers.
You're sneaking in there and trying to be the third in that relationship.
Yeah. Yeah.
No comment.
That diner date.
I get you. I get you.
Well, everyone, thank you so much for joining us. We wanted to ask you where our listeners can find you on social media and if you have any other projects they should be looking out for. Ariana, would you like to go first?
Yeah, I'm no longer on Twitter. I pretty much quit mostly using it last November or so, and
don't blame you.
Yeah, I'm mostly not on there. It's a really hard way to catch me on there. I like browse at most maybe once or twice a month, but you can find me on my portfolio website, arianamaher.com, where I have started a blog where I will write up things from time to time to talk about advice for freelancers, advice for people who want to hire a letterer and don't know how to do it, how to write the email. I write up the template for you. And just like how to network in comics. That's what I've written so far, but and it's just like general advice to help other freelancers in our industry. And then you can just contact me on my contact form if you ever have questions for me.
Thank you.
Also, the other question was, upcoming projects. Fire and Ice is coming out. Ooh. And I'm working with Andrea on that one, and I'm very, very excited. I mean, there's Detective Comics and Superman and X-Men Red, which are really cool, but get hyped for Fire and Ice.
Yes.
Tom, where can our listeners find you online? And do you have any projects they should be looking out for?
Well, I'm on stupid Twitter at Tom Peyer.
We're still there too. We get you.
Yeah, we get you.
Yeah. And Tom Peyer also at Blue Sky. I just snuck in. And as for projects, we have I'm the editor-in-chief at Ahoy Comics, and we have a really nice one just getting going. It'll be out July 7th. It's called Con and On, and it's by Paul Cornell, who has written a lot of Doctor Who, and he wrote some actual wonderful Doctor Who TV episodes. And he and Marika Cresta is the artist, and she's wonderful. I think she drew Dr. Afra. And Con and On's it's a project like no other. It's it follows like an ensemble cast through several years of a big comic book convention. Ooh. So they go out and they come back. We see them in issue 2 5 years later, and there are people who wanted to have careers in comics who have them, and people who don't, and people who are famous actors, but will they be next issue? And then there are some British comic book writers who are simply always drunk, so there's no suspense there. But it's a beautiful piece, and Con and On, July 12th.
That sounds amazing. Bruka, what about you?
You can find me pretty much everywhere. Twitter, Blue Sky, Instagram, just at Bruka Jones. Twitch also at Bruka Draws, because Bruka Jones was taken, weirdly. And then what was the other?
Do you have any projects that we should be
yes.
looking out for?
So I have a couple that I'm working on. Earlier, I said that I'm an artist, not a writer, but I am working on writing something, which is just a bunch of my original characters, like mostly hanging out, just doing stuff, like going
we
to
love
the mall and
That
going
sounds
out
amazing.
to eat. You can read a little bit of it right now on To Pass and Webtoon. It's called Perdita Aside. It's got a graphic novel that I'm also trying to write, which is going to take me forever because I'm still kind of getting the swing of this writing thing. There's also like a pitch that I've got in my pocket that I'm working on with an actual writer, but I can't talk about that.
We're excited. And if your writing is half as good as your art, I think it's going to be amazing.
Thank you. I hope it is.
I think I already know. It's not even a question.
I appreciate your confidence.
I do. I have it in you.
Thank you.
Rye, where can our listeners find you? And do you have anything you'd like to plug?
Yeah, I also am on Twitter, unfortunately, at Rye Hickman. And then I am also kind of on Instagram at Rye Hickman Draws. I forget the platform exists often, but I make an effort. And the next book that I have that's coming out is actually really soon, July 18th, I believe. It's a middle grade graphic novel called Buzzing, written by Samuel Satin. I did all the rest of it. And then, yeah, I think that's it for now. My career is taking a shift into more of the like traditional publishing market, which means that like you finish a book. It's very different from the direct market. You finish a book and then a calendar year later it comes out. And I'm still sort of adjusting to that.
Oh, well, we will have to check that out. That sounds really cool. Thank you.
Thank
and
you.
last but not least, Josh.
Yeah, you can find me online at Lost His Keys Man. I lost my keys, man. And then more Blue Beetle is coming from DC in September. I'm very excited for that. And I have a nonfiction queer graphic novel coming out in August as well. It's called Washington's Gay General. George Washington had a general that served under him in the Revolutionary War, who we'd now call a gay guy, Baron von Steuben, and we kind of detail his life from a queer lens and also interact with all these other figures of the era that like history is kind of overlooked.
I'm so excited for that. I think
That
I
sounds
wrote you
amazing.
on Twitter. I was sitting in my office maybe 2 weeks ago. I work in a library, and one of my coworkers were talking about something about Washington, and I heard the word gay, and I shouted from my office like, I know what you're talking about. There's a book about that coming out. So
That's
I'm
so
already
exciting.
spreading the word. I'm so
Thank
excited
you.
for
Thank
it.
you.
So,
Yes.
yeah. Well, thank you all so much for joining us. This has been so much fun.
That was really fun.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you for
thank you so
having
much.
us.
Thank you for having us. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
You all are welcome back anytime you want.
Oh, I was going to mention FlameCon. You're going to be at FlameCon, right, Josh?
I will be at FlameCon for sure.
Mm.
And you might be doing something with us there. That was very subtle of me there.
Hint, hint.
Hint,
Hint, hint.
Yeah. Anyone else going to be at FlameCon? Just out of curiosity.
I
Oh,
will.
right.
Oh, that's right. I'm so excited to see you there.
That's awesome.
Me too. I can't wait. It's my favorite con by far.
Oh, yeah, it is. It's the best.
Yeah.
I've been debating whether to go just because this is the year where I'm doing a big move, so I'm saving a lot of money, but
Do it.
Well, if you're there, we will say hi to you.
Yep.
If I go, I'll be sure to message you guys because I'll be all alone.
Oh,
Aw,
well,
please
you better
do.
message us.
Yeah.
Please. You can hang with us anytime.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to the Gotham Outsiders. You can find me, Chris, on Twitter at The Myth of Psyche, where I talk about feminism, psychology, and Batman, of course. But you can also find me on my new show at Thirsty on Tune over on the Talking Comics feed, where Bronwyn and I review webtoons and drink wine, and also review romance novels. You can also find me writing reviews at talkingcomics.com, and I am now accepting consulting clients. So if you need someone to do sensitivity reading or consult on psychology or queer identity, I'm your person. You can also find my co-host TJ
at Troyfin2 on Twitter, where I talk about books, gay things, gay books, and all sorts of things, including Batman pretty often, way more than I used to. And I recently became an official librarian, so you can find all sorts of book reviews that I post just for fun, a lot of advanced reviews of books that haven't come out yet. So if you're looking for a nice gay read, please hit me up. You could also find me talking on other podcasts just here and there if you search my name on any podcast service provider that you listen to.
And you can find us both talking about Batman all the time at the Gotham Outsiders. So join us next time. Same bat time, same bat place.